Well, good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain. So,
good morning. I'm Neo Taigbe.
Good morning and welcome. I am Bukola Koka.
Today is December 6th. Good morning. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, yes, indeed. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the dailies, but just to also highlight that, you're still getting some, of course, concerns because, only recently the president has since ordered some investigation into what transpired with the bombing in error of the community in Kaduna State. So, of course, you'll expect all sorts of reactions about that one, especially when lives are lost. But the military did release a statement, which we also did highlight previously, how they felt, well, much as that scenario did happen, there were insinuations from the military that terrorists usually embed themselves in a civilian population in that particular statement, which was signed by a general in the army. And so, yes, indeed, but part of the questions which we also keep asking, or which is out there, is first, how do we ensure that certain things have been put in place to ensure that these kind of scenarios don't occur again? So, and then, yes, several people have also suggested they don't think the army should be the ones to investigate this matter. And an independent body look into all of these things. The jury is out on that one. But, we all know that no matter what happens, we need to ensure that the military is well positioned to ensure that they carry on their duties to the best of their capabilities with, I don't know if they're teaching the army minimal collateral damage. The way this thing is all going out now, we need to ensure that a lot of attention is paid to things being done right. I've been thinking too about the kind of cooperation they have. I know this is not interagency now. The Air Force and the Army. Air Force put up a statement saying, well, we're not the only ones that operate drone facility in those areas. So the military also did it. So would anything have changed if the Air Force had coordinated with the Army to carry out that one? Just thinking. But at least moving forward, so that they'll take a look at all options to reduce or to ensure minimal damage if it involves having this Air Force work with the Army in this one. Who knows? Because I know that some time ago, that did happen. The Air Force will at least strike from there, the Army moving on ground. I know those things usually happen, but I'm not sure how this one, what kind of considerations were given to this before it went on. So in the days ahead, we'll see what they come up with.
They'll have to come up with something real quick, because this is one incident indeed that nobody wants to see happen again. Yes, we talk about asymmetrical warfare. It's happening, and dynamics have changed, and I'm sure the military is also re-strategizing to ensure that nothing like this happens. Yesterday, the Chief of Army Staff was there, the Minister of Defense. They were all visiting the victims of this mistake, we have called it. We're all there, and they made certain comments about ensuring that this doesn't happen again, besides the directive of the president to ensure that there's proper investigation, wholesome investigation, as he calls it. There's also the Kaduna State government is also doing its own bit of investigation so that, again, these mistakes will not repeat themselves. But how much of intelligence, someone asked a question, how much of intelligence went into the deploying of that tool? How much of intelligence went into it?
Well, no matter the level of intelligence that goes through, you couldn't have this kind of damage.
True. And the way it is that the bandits are also embedding themselves, as they say, embed themselves in this kind of warfare that we're facing in the midst of the civilians. So it paints a picture of how aware are even the civilians in relating with some of these people that come around. How security, again, we've had this conversation before about being security aware, security awareness. What level
It's an
of
everyday
awareness?
thing. You have to have it every morning. If
What
you're going
level
out,
of it do we have?
security is
How
important.
aware are we of our environment, of our security situation, of those that are coming around us? Can we properly say, okay, I can identify this person, or I can identify this person? All those things also come into play wherever we find ourselves. We may not be in this place where it happened, but every other place where we also need to be security aware so that we can actually report when there's need to report or share information with the security agencies and help them also in preparing to handle certain things that appear to be happening around us day by day. Ayo. Okay.
Well, Nyota and Chamberlain, pardon me, I'd rather to a harder line stance on this one. We should resist the temptation, I believe, to normalize what has happened. If you look at the front page of one of the papers today, some of the survivors are saying things like, I lost 34 relatives. Another is saying, I know a man who lost all his 12 children, including his wife. The last says we were picking body parts and putting them in backhoe bags. Now, this is the extent, this is the magnitude of the devastation that has been caused by the error of the Army's accidental bombing of what happened in Tudumbiri village in Kaduna State. If this is, the excuse that the Army is providing is that, sometimes terrorists embed themselves into population, then there's a huge question mark on the intelligence that they get. What's the weight of the intelligence that they get? Shouldn't we rely on the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to be able to get its intelligence to precision? Don't forget that from what we hear in the papers yesterday, this is the 10th time that the Army is carrying out such a bombing in 2 years. This, for me, is inexcusable. 85 people have died. Many of them real people who have family members, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, mothers. At the last count again, one person died at the hospital yesterday. And we heard that young man, on the news at 10, Channels News at 10, say yesterday that after they had thrown the initial bomb, a second bombing came. So how precise or how effective was the technology deployed? The young man or whoever it was that was operating this drone, after the first bombing had been thrown, what feedback did they get? So for me, this is inexcusable. And this is a country where we've had clerics have gone into the trenches to actually visit bandits and interacted with them, not once, not twice. So it's not as if these people have always said, spirits. Some people actually know where they are, even though the Army presents the excuse time and again that they embed themselves into the population. So if we went by that, the fight against banditry ought to have been won a long time ago. All of these issues, they place a huge question mark on the approach of the armed forces to fight banditry and insurgency. Ayo.
Really, I'm a little conflicted in having this conversation this morning, guys, because, what Chamberlain and Nyota said, very, very valid. Conversations around these things have continued and will continue. We listened to what the military has said, both the statement and the compassionate words of the Chief of Army Staff. And of course, Bukola, your words are very, very valid because we sometimes just look at these figures as numbers. No, they're people. And we also had that conversation with Dr. Okey Ikechukwu yesterday, talking about what one of the dailies called friendly fire. It is not proper, but it is something that, as we hear, happens from time to time. Why they happen, that's another conversation altogether. But my drift this morning is from what you said, Nyota, the other time, about the origin of these kinds of conversations. How do we know? We understand that when the military or anyone says, these people embed themselves, it calls to question just one thing. When we had effective local government systems, did we have these kind of situations on our hands? I know from experience that local government systems, local government councils have their own security apparatus. If bandits, criminals embed themselves among the communities, that level of security would detect it. So what are we doing to ensure that those things don't happen again? The military was asking, how do we ensure that these things don't happen again? Can we make the local government system effective? Every government has a security system, apparatus in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can we make effective the local government system so that they can check these things from the very roots? Can we start from there at least? Chamberlain.
Well, you know, people had to put themselves up for office, to run for those offices, to ensure that you begin to give it the kind of verve and attention it does deserve, so that it can be as effective, you know. But that's another matter for another day. But I'm not sure. I mean, when Bukky says normalize, I don't think that that's what. Is that what you're trying to do? Normalize some of these things?
There's nothing to normalize here.
No, because the thing is this. There is no information out there as to the procedures that they went through for this to have happened. Not out there. You don't have it. So what has happened now is everyone is asking, just as the president has also ordered, there has to be a comprehensive investigation to find out what happened first. So you need to determine how did this happen. So when that is determined, then actions will then be taken. Whoever then is found culpable, fine. They said it was an accidental scenario. So not that they deliberately went out there to do it. But when the investigation happens, a lot will unravel. And how that investigation happens, who conducts that investigation, all of those things are the things now that need to be put in place for this to happen. So it's because I'm not in the army. I'm not in the army. But yes, of course, everybody wants life just like this. So it's out there. We'll wait to see what they come up with for the very next steps then taken. So unfortunately, this is what we're facing right now. All right, that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the dailies here this morning, and we'll start with New Telegraph. Governors, biggest beneficiaries of fuel subsidy removal. NASU. Oh, okay. 6, national minimum wage review over inflation rise. Subsidy removal affected 90% of businesses in Nigeria negatively, ascribed to reports. Well, seeing this headline, it comes across as though NASU will have information about this if they're saying governors are the biggest beneficiaries. Now, if you only go to the fact out there is that, yes, the president did approve 5 billion. 2 have already been handed down. So 3, I guess we need to revisit that and find out the modalities for them to get the 3. Are they, on what basis are they giving every state the same amount of money? Do they have the same conditions? Will they achieve the same kind of effect or better effect in some? What do they want to achieve with this? Are governors, quote, utilizing this properly to avoid anyone pocketing these monies? So maybe NASU may have some scoop. You never know. So it's important to go ahead and find this out. And then if there is, then of course, the governors will have to explain. But as we've always highlighted, there has to be that template that everyone can see. This is the way we went about disbursing or utilizing these funds. And so what results? Who are those that benefited? So if they said the last NEC meeting, the list they had was not good enough, lacked integrity, now what processes have you put in place for this one? Were they given an excuse for the last list just so as they come up with something that will suit them? I guess we will find out, or we should be told by some of these as we keep asking all of those questions. At the bottom strip, Oshomole, FG states borrowing workers 11 trillion naira contributory pension funds at low interest rate, accuses Labour of breaching procedure for effective strike. Look, this is going to be a serious matter now because you know that the people are already beaten and battered by the vagaries of the economy. And so if you're borrowing 11 trillion naira contribution pension fund at low interest rates, is that right? Is that the way it's supposed to be? And if this is the case, the people didn't even get their pensions when they're supposed to, because I know the last time, certain person said when they got there, it was a different story from what they had told them when they set up the scheme. And when they got there, it completely changed. And I think we should pay attention to this, because at that point, when you're in pensions, you know, in many cases, that's all they have. That is all they have. And so, look, it's really important that we should focus on this at some point. That's a new Telegraph this morning.
Well, the Guardian's new, the one I have here, and they start out with a focus on the states, tied into that one that New Telegraph led with probably. The states governors are the beneficiaries of subsidy removal. But see how Guardian captioned it. States grown in debt for funding despite 16 trillion naira FAC windfall. On page 6, you get the details. But look at the infographics there. Speaks volumes. The total FAC shared by states in last 4 years, 15.58 trillion naira. How much of IGR came from the states? Just 40% of the FAC allocations in the last 4 years. And they talk about FAC allocations by geopolitical zones. It's all there in the infographics on the front page of The Guardian, and something to look at, quite interesting. But going down below that, local content stagnates at 54% amid $25 billion oil investments. The investment is on page 5. News page 5, you get more details on that. I think that came out from the Local Content Summit, yes, that was held yesterday in Yanagua. Senate's charged NPA Customs over $1.68 billion revenue loss. It's on page 5. I mean, the government continues to talk about revenue. That's how they're hoping to sort out all the debt issues. But the carrying of revenue losses, Senate is also probing in one corner. COP28, Nigeria reaps windfall in $1 million Africa-focused pledges. Let's hope that words will be matched with action beyond COP28. And by the side of that, you have the Gambia returns 9 Europe-bound stowaways to Lagos. Still, many seek to leave. Why? Makinde presents his budget for 2024 to the State Assembly. That's it from The Guardian.
And up next is This Nigeria, which has a potpourri of stories this morning. Let's take a look at the first one. That's the big story. Tinubu orders probe of Kaduna drone attack as death toll hits 85. 66 villagers injured, NEMA confirms. State officials visit devastated community. Army chief apologizes, donates 10 million naira for treatment of victims, says terrorists embedded with civilians in affected community. Let's take a look at other stories this morning. Right beside the nameplate, FG to revoke unused oil exploration licenses granted Owando Total Energy. It's a page 30 read. So, why are the licenses being revoked? What atmosphere are they operating in the first place? How conducive is the business atmosphere? That's an interesting one. You'll find details on the inside pages, page 30 to be precise. There's this one also at the bottom of the big story. Police defuse IED near Unimed, that's the University of Maiduguri, I believe. No lives lost, says spokesperson. That's a page 23 read. So what's the potential of insecurity in that area? And it's in proximity to the higher institution there. We hope that there are no landmines in that location, and there's due diligence done such that there's no unwholesome consequence in the future. A few more stories, and that will be it for This Nigeria, rather. Politics now. Crisis festers in Benue. Party official accuses government of planning anti-Tinubu protests. So besides the local government leadership crisis, it looks as if there's more brewing within the APC fold in Benue State. Perhaps we'll have that conversation in the coming days. And lastly, this is an interesting one. 50 million hectares of Nigeria's arable land uncultivated. That's ascribed to minister. I wonder if that's the Minister of Agriculture. The question is, what will be done? Let's leave it there for this Nigeria.
The Nigerian Observer is talking about what some of the states have started to do, Edo State in particular. Obaseki presents 325.3 billion naira 2024 budget to Edo Assembly. And look at the priorities: growth, employment enablers, road infrastructure, health, education, others. Top priorities. That's the writer to the story. The details you'll find on the front page continues on page 2. Above the nameplate, National Assembly warns MDAs against lackadaisical approach in 2024 budget defense. I don't know if we have even started to ask questions around what did you do with the previous money? I don't know. Is that how will I give money to my child and say?
That's a very instructive question, particularly because, you know, there's this consistent reference to unactualized budget for capital expenditure in consistent budgets. So that's why the Speaker must make good his promise for openness and public hearings of budgets in the future, starting with the 2024 budget.
I'm still okay. So from time to time we get that. Yes, I'm going to go there, guys. Auditor General's report. And what is being done about them? How are you giving somebody money who hasn't reported what he did with the previous one? Well, the president of the Senate, I believe, was the one that made this comment, warning ministries, departments, and agencies against lackadaisical approach in 2024 budget defense. But okay, so the warning is out, and that's not the first time we're hearing of these warnings. But please, who is asking questions about the performance of the one you collected before now? Isn't that the job of the Public Accounts Committee? Okay, so the Public Accounts Committee, which is usually headed by the opposition parties, are they, what now, bow and go? I don't know. Anyway, that's the lead. That story is right above the nameplate. And this rather unfortunate one is at the bottom of the picture of the governor presenting the budget to the Speaker of the House. Terrorists strike military camp, kill 15 soldiers, 3 civilians. This is not the kind of thing we want. I mean, how is this, for instance, different from what happened in Kaduna? So, I don't know. I don't know the way, what kind of conversation we're having with our people. These are trained soldiers, also have lost, Nigeria lost them, and their children and wives have also lost, or spouses have also lost, you know, someone who is very, very important to them. But this is what we have on the front page. The details you'll find on page 2 of the Nigerian Observer this morning.
Take a look at Vanguard next. They focus on the 2024 budget. The lead story says Tinubu Shetima aids to spend 15.961 billion naira on trips. Oh, yeah. Villa mechanical, electrical maintenance, 9 billion naira. Vehicles, 6 billion naira. Foodstuff, catering materials, supplies, 602 million naira. State House miscellaneous, 2.54 billion naira. Villa computers, repairs, 980 million naira.
Are they buying new computers?
Villa computers, repairs, 980 million naira. That's what the story says. Villa honorarium, 365.8 million naira. So, look, budgets come every year. So this kind of stories come every year. What have the people done about it? The media has highlighted this time and again. What has been done about it? Much they can do now is keep investigating, it's up to people to then decide what they want. And not just at the federal level. What about the states? So what are they doing in their states? What are people asking of their governors? So, look, people need to be realistic in this country and not try to paper over cracks or something. You have to ask questions from that level up to the top. Not enough for us to, yes, we've seen this one. Some states won't even let you see their budget. You can't even see anything. And there are residents in those states who keep quiet and maybe they wait for the media to go and bring the sacrificial lamb. Yes, they'll highlight it, but you have to ask them really hard questions out there. Go at it because it's your funds. So, look, I need to find out. When they say Villa computers, are they going to repair them? I don't think Villa exists to combo computers. Well, this is the lead story here. So the line items too, I know the budget was trying to see, look, they needed the line items to be provided. So we'll find out and see, because as part of measures to reduce all of that, it starts from the line items. Let's see what is relevant, what is not. Do they buy furniture? Do they really buy furniture every year? And if they do, why? I've seen some state governors who said, look, I didn't have money to buy a new vehicle. I simply told my predecessor, please, leave the old cars that you have. Let me just start with that one until we can hit the ground running. So if that can happen, has it not been happening? Yet the budget, humongous millions for vehicles. Yeah. I think Lagos, Lagos had 404 million for office of, I think there was chief of staff for visitors. I think that'll be just for 4 years. What happens to them after 4 years? They buy another one. Look at this above this lead story. FG won't weaponize religion, ethnicity. SGF tells Sultan Khan others. Okay.
That's a good one. As I said, much words with action.
It means the law should be the law. We shouldn't, in this part of the world, there's so much religion in several places and you never see results. Look at Saudi Arabia, Israel, look at the level of development in those countries. And then, well, that's where Christians, Muslims go for pilgrimage and things like that. But look at development. Look at even Dubai. Look at development. When you come here, then you hear a different story.
Sometimes it looks as if the religious books we read are different from what they read out there, the places where it's believed that this religions originated from. So the books we read, they say for our different religions, it looks as if they are different from what's
But they still go to Israel and Saudi Arabia.
That's what I'm saying. So it's as if both Christians and Muslims go for their pilgrimages and they come back being the same old, same old. There's no change. And I mean, we go to other clients, we see the things they do with the resources they have. And we're wondering, how is it that, I mean, Nigeria is an oil-producing country, right? We'll go to other countries where they produce oil and see what they're doing with their resources.
You know what, one of the parents of the children who are in Boko Haram, at least employers, in Maiduguri, they said it became difficult for us as parents to have our children come back. And when they came back, they thought, what am I coming back to? Because over there, that appears to be the government I've seen. They give us money, we get money to do certain things, and these are people who, I don't remember which religion, and they said, look, they were somewhat ascetic in their religion, and they were really low-key, but when they saw funds, money to do certain things, they forgot about whatever religion I told them. Those are realities that we need to wake up to, stark realities. And so it's up to us to decide what we want to do.
Okay, so let's just look at this one real quick. Business Day here. Business Day has this one they're leading with. Inside multi-billion naira Esther code racketeering. Yeah, inside multi-billion naira Esther code racketeering. That's what they're leading with. So you can imagine how people seek to travel because of how much Esther code they're going to get. Then see this on. Patients reel over 1,390% antibiotics price jump. Understand, some antibiotics they used to go for as little as 3,000 naira, now go for about 25,000 naira. And it's, boy.
God help them if it's not fake.
Help. Anyway, that's it from Business Day.
News Direct this morning, which, has also quite a number of stories on the front page. But listen to this one. IOCs, well, above IOCs, as a smaller insert, foreign divestments. IOCs, indigenous companies, decry multiple taxation bottlenecks in petroleum industry. So this gives us an insight into why licenses were revoked, but the operative word for those licenses that were revoked were unused licenses belonging to Total and Oando, from the story initially reviewed on the front page of This Nigeria this morning. And this is what the IOCs are saying. Lord NCDMB for effective local content implementation. Minister identifies divestments by foreign companies as opportunity for developing in-country capacity. So the question is, what about those indigenous companies that have been issued licenses for some form of oil exploration, particularly the refining of petroleum? Why are they refining other offshoots of crude oil rather than petroleum, as we discovered yesterday from our guest?
I think the answer came yesterday as well.
As well, right? But we can't help but ask them all the same. Well, that's it. If you want more details, you'll have to, check News Direct. Page 2, to be precise, is where you find details. There are quite a number of other stories. Listen to these ones from above the nameplate. Lagos to open Okpebi, Mende, Ojota link bridge in Q2, that's quarter 2, 2024. That's an interesting one. But Lagos, what's happening to all the bad roads around? And they're increasing, by the way. So let's have those ones rehabilitated as well, besides the commissioning of the ambitious projects.
By the way, I think it's also apt to begin to draw attention to something that may be an issue. Well, the aspiration of the federal government and the state government, of course, is that Dangote refinery will come on stream real soon.
Okay, but back to the indigenous companies and the IOCs.
How will those products be taken from the Lekki Free Trade Zone? Are they going to go through the roads?
How did the products come from the high sea when we're still importing?
No, well, this is in Lagos, right? And from what we understand, I'm not sure that the refinery will have enough storage capacity within the refinery itself. They have to take it somewhere for some kind of storage. Or you can't shut down. You have to produce every day. If they're going to produce every day, how many tankers are going to leave the refinery every day? Something maybe 10, 20 on a daily basis.
We know from reports that it has a capacity of 650,000 barrels of crude per day, right? And
going by what we heard from Engineer Ogedegwe yesterday, that will produce something in the region of at least 50% PMS. We use 30 million liters every day in the country, and how many of them are going to, how many trucks are going to leave that
that's
refinery
a very good
every day?
problem.
And I'm talking about all of this in the light of what you raised about the roads. The road, the Lekki road is fairly narrow. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just something for the Lagos State government to begin to think about.
But if you ask me, it's a good problem, and the benefits far outweigh the concerns being raised. That's jobs. That means jobs for petrol tankers and drivers. I believe that's the Association of Road Transport Workers and NATO. I forget the exact nomenclature of NATO now.
It's good problem.
Good problem.
As well as good pressure.
Good pressure.
On the roads.
On the roads.
That's my concern.
Okay. Somebody doesn't want to hear about tolling Lekki toll gate again. But you have to think about that yourself. Just one more story, and that'll be it for News Direct. Customs intercepts 18,100 liters PMS, 9 trailer loads of foreign rice, others worth 872 million naira. Let's leave it there for the Nigerian News Direct.
And also look at some of the dailies this morning. We're back right after now to take on the issues as they come. Do stay with us.
Governor Hyacinth earlier did not dissolve the democratically elected local government leadership in the state. The Benue State House of Assembly that is vested with the constitutional powers to legislate over the local governments did. The Assembly did this in exercise of their constitutional responsibility as enshrined in Section 7 and 8 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Governor Hyacinth Imewalia only appointed caretaker committees to avoid a lacuna that would have been created following recommendations of the Benue State House of Assembly, who investigated, indicted, and sacked the 23 local government chairmen who were found to have perpetrated monumental fraud in their councils in active connivance with their councillors and leaders of those various councils. We are worried, very worried, that a senator who should know better choose to blatantly lie to the entire nation with a very clear intention to curry support for his partisan leaning. We are also worried that of all people, it is Senator Abamoro. I mean Senator Abamoro, a former caretaker chairman of Okpoku local government, a former sole administrator of Okpoku local government, that has the nerves to stand before the Nigerians and say that democracy is eroded in Benue.
All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, that's what we're going to be focusing on this morning. And Daniel Onje joins us here today. He was the APC senatorial candidate for Benue South in the 2023 elections. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Okay, now that one we saw, that report, was a response to Senator Abamoro's motion on the floor of the Senate, raising concerns concerning the actions in Benue about local government chairmen or councillors, as it were. So maybe you should shed a little more light. What is the state government not happy about?
Well, what the state government is not happy about is the misrepresentation of facts by Senator Abamoro, the Senate Minority Leader. It is surprising because it's not the first time, Senator. One would assume that a legislator should have been conversant with the law or acquainted himself with the provisions of the law. Drafting a bill or motion is a serious business because it has to do with the entire citizens of Nigeria. So nobody should be allowed to throw around or play with the emotions of Nigerians. That bill, or that motion rather, at best can be described as a mere sensational bill seeking cheap popularity.
Why?
Because he claims in the bill that the Benue state government subverted democracy by dissolving democratically elected officials of the local government. And that is not the situation in Benue State. You agree with me that even in the law court, where you have similar situations, every case is determined on its merit. So Nigerians, I want to create the indulgence to carefully follow and listen to the explanation I shall give, which are the issues surrounding this entire brouhaha.
Just followed up with what was said in that report. The official of the government there said the House investigated. I think they said the governor sacked also.
Yes, that's exactly the point I'm making. The governor didn't sack.
Okay, so instead, they used the wrong word, the commission.
The government didn't sack or dissolve the local government, elected local government officials. I want to react more to what Senator Abamoro said rather than what the spokesperson of the governor said.
No, but they're all out there.
Would it be good for you to start from the process?
So what I'm saying, there's difference between dissolving a democratically elected ESCOs and suspending the ESCOs. What he explained or tried to explain there is that the House of Assembly received a correspondence from the governor, from the state governor, through the chief of staff to the governor. And they read it on the floor of the House, deliberated on it, and saw that there was merit in what the governor discovered from the what you call income and expenditure report, which the governor directed the local government officials to submit to the government. You know, like with all other newly elected officials, or any government or any public officer who knows his onions and his what is salt. As soon as you resume, the first thing you do is to take stock of what you're meeting on ground. So he directed the local government officials to get the report so that they can go through and see the extent of the work they've done so far. And they discovered there was nothing.
So what is wrong with what Senator Moro said?
What is wrong with what Senator Moro said? He said that it dissolved the council, whereas the council was not dissolved because the governor does not have the power to dissolve a democratically elected officials of a local government. Neither does the State House of Assembly have the power to do the same. But what the State House of Assembly is vested with the power to do, in line with the local government law that was enacted by the State House of Assembly in 2007 and amended in 2012, pursuant to Section 7, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, which gives them the power to do that. So the law is to the extent that the State House of Assembly can investigate local government officials and make consequent recommendations. So they were the ones who investigated, and then they investigated the local government, elected local government officials, and discovered a humongous fleecing of public and taxpayers' funds, because several billions of nairas passed through the coffers of this local government council.
After that
and there's nothing to show. It will shock you to know that in one occasion they shared over several millions of nairas during Christmas. And in another case, they were taking money monthly under the guise
we're trying to factor this in
providing welfare
so that we can get a lot more to have. Just a minute, Daniel. So after the House investigated, they made the recommendation to the state governor.
Yes.
What did the governor do with it?
Implement it.
Which was?
They are vested with power to investigate, which they did. After investigating, they recommended indefinite suspension of the local government ESCOs pending the final determination of the investigation. They established a prima facie case against these local government executives.
So, where in the law does the State House of Assembly derive powers to suspend elected council chairmen indefinitely?
Well, like I told you, every state has its own law for the administration of its local government. As they deem fit, they make. In the Benue State local government law they made is such that empowers them to investigate.
I heard investigate.
Yes, to investigate.
I use the word
I make
suspend indefinitely. Where do they get the powers from?
From the Constitution of the Federal Republic.
Which Constitution? Could you point that to me? Because I'm saying Section 7.1 clearly states that, yes, the local government system is guaranteed. And what the law says, which was amended, is that, yes, they can investigate, but you can only suspend them for 3 months. You can't suspend them indefinitely. So I'm asking you now, could you show us where does it say that they can be suspended indefinitely?
Well, the suspension is to the effect that pending the conclusion of the investigation. Now, like I've told you, the State House of Assembly is empowered to make their own law. The fact that they can make their own law, the law has been made in the Benue State Assembly, the one I said that was made in 2007, and also amended in 2012, which gives them the power to do that. And they have recommended to the governor to forward the preliminary investigation to the anti-graft agencies.
So wait.
So that...
Wait. The governor suspended them indefinitely, then, much later, forward the investigation to anti-graft agency? Is that what you're saying?
The recommendations, it was a twin recommendation given to the governor. Forward the case to anti-graft agencies, and at the same time, suspend them. And in order to avoid a vacuum in the administration of the local government, constitute a caretaker to manage the administration of the activities at the local government before the conclusion of this case.
So is it that the next senior person cannot take over? Why have a caretaker committee?
The next senior person at the local government is the DGSA, that's the Director General, Services and Administration. Their powers are limited. They take instruction and directive straight from the Special Advisor to the Governor on Local Government and Chieftaincy, which means you'll have allowed the entire power of the local government to rest in the hands of one man, which is a SA to the Governor on Local Government and Chieftaincy.
Okay, so...
But the Governor...
Just a quick one here.
Yeah.
You said something earlier about the powers given to the State Assembly by the Constitution, which is true, to set up local government and set up laws to ensure its functionality. But when Chamberlain read out that part of the Constitution, the State Assembly is only empowered, or the state government is only empowered to suspend the local government chairman for 3 months.
Not even the state government, the House of Assembly.
The House of Assembly.
But the governor has no powers.
For 3 months while making recommendations. So at this point, this is more than 3 months. Okay. Does the state law, because you said here, the states are given powers to promulgate laws for the local government. No problem. Does the state law supersede the Constitution?
Well, they derive their powers from the Constitution. And the Constitution has given them, even the Supreme Court has held that the creation of additional local, there was nothing wrong with the creation of additional local government in Lagos State.
No problem. So what
there is nowhere in the Constitution that says that the local government, the local government can create, the State House Assembly can create more local government. So the law is not as straight-jacketed as we may think. That is why we have people in the legislature to use their maximum discretion in the discharge of their duties to legislate on our behalf.
Mr. Andre,
this State House of Assembly make law according to how it suits them.
At their discretion.
So when you have,
the question is,
at the discretion of the state,
at what point?
At the discretion of the state, separate from every other state. As a discretion of the state. What
so the Constitution says suspension shouldn't be more than 3 months. Was that suspension renewed after 3 months?
Where are these elected officials? There are evidence of letters written to them they are absconded. None of them have been able to come out to refute the allegations against them. When they were invited, they absconded. The people who came there to stand before the ad hoc committee of the House of Assembly were these same DGSAs,
So because these elected officials have not shown up to respond to the letters, then their suspension goes indefinitely, contrary to what the Constitution says.
But are you also aware that I was the board chairman in a federal agency?
Yes.
So if the board issues query to a staff, and the staff is expected to respond within 48 hours, his time begins to count when the staff has acknowledged receipt of that letter. That is when his time begins to count. These people are absconded. As it is in the eyes of the law, They have not even acknowledged the invitation.
So have they been reported to the police?
Excuse me. They have not yet reported themselves. So in the eye of the law, the 3 months you're talking about has not begun to run. They should come back and answer to the questions. Well, but they left.
You're a former student union leader. You fight for the rights of people who are downtrodden, who feel things are going wrong. You know how to stand for some of those things. But here and now, I haven't shown up. There is no law that gives the governor powers or the assembly powers to suspend elected council chairman indefinitely. And then, they haven't even gone to court. ICPC hasn't found them. The court hasn't pronounced them guilty. That's the best the governor can do. Now, he's gone ahead and appointed caretaker chairman because what he wants to do is to take control. That is why there's even intra-party fighting between the governor and SGF and some people in the same party. It's clear what is happening here.
It's not necessarily so. Rather, the man who moved the motion is the person who ought to be seen as someone who is doing it for parochial interest.
Is he
not for
is
the
he the
interest
one
of the
behind
nation?
SGFs?
Excuse me, not the one, not in the interest of the nation, like he claimed his what do you call it? Approach is to deepen democracy and good governance in Nigeria. This is the reason, because he was a local government chairman and he was severally a caretaker local government chairman. Aside, he was in the 9th Senate as a sitting senator when we had the big PDP governor of Benue in person of Samuel Otom, who also constituted a caretaker committee. Okay. Yet, Senator Abamoru saw nothing wrong in the constitution of caretaker committee in the manner that Samuel Otom did, and he was in the Senate. But now that
Which year was that?
Now, in the last Senate. Now that, in the 9th Senate, now that he's losing grip of his local government for the very first time, he understands clearly now that it can't go on that way. And aside from that, majority of the governors who are now senators that are in the National Assembly, they had the clear opportunity when the 9th Senate made a serious effort to ensure that the bill for the amendments of the Constitution for local government autonomy scaled through.
Let's bring in Ayo and Buki. Don't worry, they'll follow up on your response.
One of the things that, thank you, Chamberlain, one of the things that bothers my mind, first of all, is how you think that the government, the Benue State government, is taking the position of the Senate on this particular issue, because clearly it's gone beyond what the senator says, Senator Abamoru said now. It is now the position of the Senate that the resources, finances, allocations to local governments will be suspended. The instruction, or rather the counsel, will be given to the federal government, to the Minister of Finance, to suspend allocations to the local governments that do not have democratically elected local government councils. How is government taking that, in your opinion?
Well, the National Assembly lacks the power to legislate on the administration of the local government in Nigeria, except for the Federal Capital Territory, which lacks a state assembly. The law is very, very clear about it, and it's unambiguous. They can legislate in the absence of a state assembly. That is when the Senate assumes the role or play the role of the State House of Assembly. But where there are State House of Assemblies in the respective states in Nigeria, they cannot legislate. So
have you considered? Yeah, my apologies.
Action or traverse.
Yeah, if you have you considered what the position of the law says in Section 7, subsection 6 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended in the 1999 Constitution, that says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the National Assembly shall make provisions for statutory allocation of public revenue to local government councils in the Federation. Are you still saying that the National Assembly does not have the powers?
It didn't say powers to legislate on the administration of the local government. Definitely the National Assembly, appropriate funds, not just to the 3 tiers of government, to parastatals, to agencies. Everybody knows that. That is within their powers, but their powers are very, very limited. They don't legislate on the local government administration. When it comes to that, the State House of Assembly are vested with the power. For me, an attempt to do that through the National Assembly is to sneak in the law through the back door. If we want to get it right and straight as Nigerians, we should confront it head on. Because these same governors who are in the Senate, who are endorsing this motion today, had the opportunity to persuade their State House of Assembly members to also...
Mr. Oj, the question that I'm asking, if you can hear me, my apologies. The question that I'm asking is not about the administration of the local government councils in Benue State or any state at that. The question is around how the government of Benue State, in your opinion, is taking the position of the Senate about suspending release of funds to the local governments in the country, starting perhaps from Benue State, that do not have democratically elected local government councils?
Well, the state is on part up with that position of the Senate because the state is very, very aware of the position of the law. If you look at 2 Supreme Court's judgment on the issue of local government, the Lagos State Attorney General versus the federal government and Attorney General of the Federation, with the action that was instituted during the President Bola Tinubu administration as the governor of Lagos State when he created new local government. And also the same local government matter that went up to the Supreme Court. In both judgments, it was held that Mr. President, which is the commander-in-chief, which is the head of the government, does not have the powers to withhold, withdraw, or suspend the allocation of any tier of government. The president is a seasoned administrator, a seasoned public servant, seasoned politician. He knows this too well, and he can't play to the gallery. So why should the Benue State government be bothered about this? They overstep their bounds, and I say their actions are travised. It is the same constitution that puts them there as our representative, that also protects the local government administration and the Benue State government. So we can't choose one aspect of the constitution to obey and disobey the other. So long as we are concerned in this, the law of the local government is concerned in this law, and the position of the law, extant law today, they have no powers to legislate on the administration of the local government. Also, Mr. President, or none of the executive, not even the Minister of Finance, has the power to stop the allocation of funds to any local government.
Mr. Onje, with recourse to Section 7 that my colleague quoted earlier on, the National Assembly has the powers, reserves the powers to legislate for every part of Nigeria. But apart from that, this motion by Senator Abba Moro is non-discriminatory. The last I checked, it was for local governments where there are no elected chairmen. That was a proposition of the motion without necessary specific recourse to Benue State. And then you say that Benue State is unperturbed by this motion, but that's not true, because your governor has urged the Senate to rescind its plan of withholding allocation to non-democratically elected local government authority. So if your state was unperturbed about this motion, why is your governor crying foul?
Well, just to correct one impression, the motion of Senator Abba Moro, I'm not sure you probably have seen the content. If you get it and check, it was not for all local governments without a democratically elected officials. It was just strictly for Benue State. It was in the course of the presentation of the motion that another senator included that it should be all. So we are telling you that that motion, at best, is partisan, self-serving. That is what it is. We just raised a poser here, and nobody seemed to be addressing it. He was a senator in the last Senate. Governor Simon Otom was a governor in Benue State. They were both there. They held sway. And they ran a caretaker committee in Benue State. And we know the local government where Senator Abamoro comes from, which is Opoku local government. We know exactly who produced the chairman in that place there. He didn't see anything wrong with it. You can't appropriate and reprobate. He condoned it. He was comfortable with it. So he ought to continue with it. And just so that we are not misunderstood, like he rightly mentioned, I am inherently an activist. I've been the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students in this country. I've been the president of the West Africa Students Union. And I've also been in the forefront, advocating for democracy and good governance for decades. So, of course, I definitely align with the idea of local government autonomy. But what I'm against is somebody pursuing his personal interest or sponsoring emotion that is self-serving and playing with the emotions of Nigerians. This is a very straightforward case. These persons were invited to the table. They ran away. And there was an establishment of a prima facie case by an ad hoc committee of the State House of Assembly. It was within their powers to make recommendations. They recommended that these people be suspended, bring a caretaker, so that while they are running away, they don't just bring to a halt the administration of local government in Benue State, so that we can prevent lacuna, and they continue with it. So, I mean, you don't just come in and bring in emotion and generalize it to the whole country to say all state. Oh, are they just realizing that there are caretakers across the country? Let's face the fact and do what will save the local government administration and accelerate development in the country. It is strictly local government autonomy. Now that the issue has become a front burner issue, we should all, as citizens and stakeholders, come alive and rise to the occasion and insist that the State House of Assemblies in this country, the National Assembly, and even the executive should work assiduously and together to ensure that the bill succeeds. The bill for the amendment of the Constitution to have local government autonomy succeed. That is when the local government can be truly independent and autonomous.
All right. Okay, Mr. Andre, real quick here. The question I asked you earlier was about the Constitution, Federal Constitution, and the Constitution of the law set up by the State Assembly. But see this, in the case of Akan versus AG, Cross River State dealt with the provision of Section 7, where the governor of the state had dissolved all the local government councils in the state and replaced them with caretaker committees.
Had dissolved.
Hold on. Now, this was challenged in court, and the court held that such an act is in conflict with Section 7. He replaced them with caretaker committees. The governor of Benue State has set up caretaker committees for these local governments. Has he not?
What is our argument
Has he not set up?
What is our argument
Has he set up caretaker
committees? What is the motion of Senator Abamoro? He said he was trying to save democracy, that democratically elected officials were dissolved. And we are saying that if you have similar case, I made it here, that every case is determined by judges in court on its merits.
All right, so we're hoping
similar, but this
one should go to court. Not that the governor will just decide like that, suspend them indefinitely. So we're expecting it should go to court, as you've said. Every case decided in court on their merit. That's what you said.
Who should go to the court?
No, you said every case is decided in court on their merit.
On their merit.
Why hasn't this one gotten to court?
Gotten to what?
To the court.
Who is supposed to go to court? The same elected officials. It seems you are not getting the background. The same elected officials, before Father Alia was sworn in.
All right,
excuse me, please, this is important. This point is important.
Quickly, if you will.
It's important. Before Governor Alia was sworn in, these same elected officials approached the court, industrial court in Makurdi. That is another barefaced lie in the motion. That there is a subsisting judgment that bars the government from dissolving the elected officials, and it has not been appealed. As I speak to you, the case had been appealed. All the record of proceedings from the industrial court have been transmitted to the Court of Appeal. all parties involved have filed their briefs of argument before the court.
We get that point.
It is for adoption,
but we clearly know
judgment. So you
this
see,
is not
he
the
told
last.
The Senate. He misled
Daniel,
the Senate.
we're
He told the Senate that it has not been appealed, it has been appealed. And this point I'm trying to make, if you get the point,
we'll get the point, Daniel.
This issue, so that you know exactly the situation
Daniel
you are dealing with.
APC senatorial candidates for Benue South 2023 elections. We do thank you for your time, and we will follow up on the allegations you've made and find out if, as you say, there's double standard on the part of the senator. That's what you're saying right here about this matter. All right, we're back in just a moment. Stay on with us.
From what I have seen and what I'm hearing, the threat to PDP is not from PDP or from us in the States. It's from outside. I don't know why anybody in PDP will want PDP destroyed. If we destroy PDP, we destroy our democracy. We've tried democracy before. We had problems. We've tried military rule. We are now back to democracy. God forbid that this a democratic practice or experience, suffers again. PDP is the basis of democracy in Nigeria. So anybody who does anything hurtful to make sure that they weaken PDP to the extent of destroying PDP is not helping Nigeria and is not helping democracy in Nigeria. And we're not going to sit down in Edo and fold our arms. We'll continue to do what we need to do to strengthen our party and make sure our party plays its role as the leading party in this state.
The party has no preferred candidate for the 2024 governorship election in Edo State. No preferred candidate. So any insinuation, any thinking that is done and dusted, it's not true. On your behalf, we promise a level playing field for every aspirant who will follow the constitution of the party and the guidelines are spelled out by the headquarters of the party in the conduct of the congresses and the primary elections coming up. What we will not allow you to do as an aspirant is to dictate to us how the process should be.
Okay, so to talk to us about the politics in Edo State within the PDP about the forthcoming 2024 governorship elections, who will clinch this ticket? Mr. Martins Osakwe is the leader of the PDP in Edo State. He joins us from our studios in Benue. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, we've seen some candidates have declared their interest to vie for the seat, and they're bullish, saying, yes, indeed, they will go ahead and get this ticket. And at the moment, it's not exactly clear who will. And we also do know that Legacy Group some time ago did protest some decisions. They think, or they say, that the governor has plans to install somebody. I mean, we had another candidate here who says, look, the man has not even declared, no such thing whatsoever. So talk to us about that. Does Legacy Group have intel or good information that that is what the governor plans to do? What do you see playing out?
Good morning, once again. Yes, we have intel. We are aware that the governor's camp has interest in presenting somebody. We're also aware that the Legacy Coalition is not just Legacy Group now. It's a coalition of members of PDP. Those who came from APC, just like I did with the governor, although I was a founding member of PDP. We have formed the Legacy Coalition. And within the Legacy Group, there are aspirants. There are those who seek to be PDP candidates. come 2024. What we are saying is that there must be a level playing field. We are not denying the governor the right to try to influence the process. But what we have said in Legacy Group is that no candidate should be imposed on anybody. Let's create a level playing field. The question of saying this zone should go to, the thing should go to this zone, go to Central or to Edo South, the question does not arise. It's alien to PDP constitution. We have never zoned since 1999. We have never zoned the position of governor. It is even wrong to zone because it is what obtains at the moment that influence a politician's or a political party's choice of a candidate. It is what is happening around you that determines the direction to go.
Okay.
For instance,
let's look at what is happening around the PDP right now.
Yes.
Some of those who, at least, would think that they want to go ahead and clinch this. We've seen that of the Deputy Governor, His Excellency Philip Schreiber. He's thrown his hat in the ring. He's Edo North. And then Aslam Ojezwa was also here. He's Central. But now, if, as people speculate, Aswe Godalo joins the fray, as you say, you have intelligence that the governor wants to bring him in, he's Central. And then, we understand Legacy Group is backing Ogwede Hamahu himself too. Is from the South. So you have these four candidates, the leading ones, who may clinch this ticket. So now you're saying you've never zoned. But there's word out there that the North and South have had a shot at the governorship seat. So what is wrong in allowing Edo Central this time be in the saddle?
You see, politics, political party, they exist to contest for power. Politics is about contestation for power. So if you are the administrators of a party, you will bring out a candidate who has the greatest chance of clinching the ticket, of taking your party to government house. That's why political parties exist. So if you look at the situation right now, if it were just PDP alone as a sole party, or a near sole party as it was in Obasanjo's time, good and fine. We could just pick from any zone. But now we have the APC who controls the federal government. 48 hours ago, they have come out to say they are not zoning.
Mr. Sakwe, you said politics is about contestation. One would think that politics is about service to the people, and if you serve them effectively, the people will want you to return, and your party will want your party to return. So are you implying that you've not really been serving the people, but you've been more focused on contesting?
You are wrong.
I am wrong?
Political parties...
It's what you said.
What I said, political parties exist to contest for power. It is when you have power, when you are working there, and you serve the people. You don't serve the people from outside.
Okay, but you've been serving the people for a number of years right now. Did you serve them effectively?
Of course. Of course. But again, you want to do better. In doing better, you learn from history. You have to look at what your party is like driving a car. As you are driving yours, you are watching the other road users. So, APC has come out to say they are not zoning. So we'll be better guided. Assuming they go and take from Edo South, for instance, that has about 62% of the voting population. What do? We have not zeroed our mind on, say, it must come from Central, it must come from North. But it is wrong strategy to expose yourself so early that we are going to pick from Central. So assuming we had gone ahead to pick from Central, and they just, APC comes and pick any of Agba, Izeyamu, Delco from South, we'll be in trouble. Because all the votes that come from Central, they are equivalent of one local government in the South, which has 7 local governments. So there are a lot that will come into play in picking a candidate. We have a strategic team. They will come together. Eventually, the governor side, the legacy group, will all put our thinking cap on and select a candidate that is capable of retaining power.
If I understand your point now, from the way it sounds, the way it comes across, is you're suggesting that, look, central or no central, if things were to turn out right and the PDP will be secured that slot and win the seat, you suggest you perhaps present a candidate from the south who can then, because they have the numbers, so they can then, every other thing can fall in line with the candidate from the south. Is that your suggestion?
Let me tell you, if I were a sole proprietor of a party, you see, part of the problem of this country, we have left morality from everything we do. There must be morality in politics. There must be some moral obligations. I would think that the best way for us to go is to go back to 2019, where Ubedeyama was almost emerging 3 days to the Congress, emerging as the candidate of PDP.
Okay.
I was the governor in APC. We came together. We prevailed. I was one of those. I was meant to prevail, become my special relationship with Ubedeyama. To prevail on him to step down. So, those of us who prevailed on Ubedeyama to step down have a moral obligation to go back to that 2019. Part of what we did there was to say age was on his side. 2, the governors, PDP Governors Forum, who gathered in Port Harcourt to ask this young man who signed some agreements with Governor Obaseki, to ask this young man, step down, your turn will come. We will be there with you. They have a moral obligation to prevail. They have a moral obligation to prevail on the powers that be in Edo PDP to say, please, let's go back and visit this. If this young man didn't step down, we won't be in government house today after what Oshomole did to Obaseki. 3, the National Working Committee was at the center of bringing in Obaseki and asking Ubedeyama to step down and our leader, Danobi, to lead the campaign that eventually brought Obaseki. So, there is this moral obligation that day. Those in Abuja, the Governors Forum, which then was led by Kambowa, they need to come together now and say, oh, let us rescue Edo State. Those are 3 areas. Okay. Then 4, we must look at the fact. You see, politics cannot do without history. Edo has been a PDP state. It is when we mismanage election process that we create problem and allow the APC to come in. We must learn from history.
Okay.
History we should learn from both national and state.
You're clearly making a case for Ubedeyama, who you think should be the one to get the slot. But this is a conversation that we're going to have at a later date, at least, revisit this matter since we still have some time before the big day.
Just a minute, Chamberlain.
Briefly, please,
Yes, you mentioned the other candidates. We are not saying the candidates are not there. You also mentioned Asen Godalo, which we know the governor is interested in. There are candidates from the central, which we could consider. There's Joe Fair, that's Phyllis Akabwe. There's John Yakubu. There's Ashley Mojejwa. Philip Shaibu is from the north. These are good PDP members. But the point is, if you were a sole proprietor, you want to get power at the state level, who stands a better chance to clinch power for PDP? A candidate from the south. And when you look at the present demography of election and our voting population, you will know that Ubedeyama has something they don't have. They have the closest with their halfway.
All right, Mr. OJ, Mr. Onakwe, Mr. Martins, not to worry. Yes. We'll definitely have a lot more on this matter in the days ahead. So we'll have to thank you for your time here today. Mr. Martins Osakwe is the PDP leader in Edo State. So we're back in a moment. Don't go away.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Who's your guy? Now Olumide Apata. See how sweet they like beans and rice. Labour Party, I will never leave your side. I will never ever. I dedicate my time forever. Time to you, my people. Even if the road be rough, I know mine. 'Cause together we shall stand. Labour Party, who's your guy? Now Olumide Apata. See how sweet they like beans and rice. 'Cause together we shall.
Yes, welcome back. Senator Abba Moro joins us this morning. He's the minority leader in the Senate. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Pleasure. Your motion, Senator, urgent need to halt the erosion of democracy about the dissolution of elected councils in Benue State, which was moved on the floor, is causing some ripples. The state government said that, through some of their representatives, that this is an ulterior motive on your part and that you're not being forthright about some of that motion because they thought that history has shown that certain things, a similar matter happened previously, but you seem to have condoned it. So give us some background why you moved this motion in the first place.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning and to say that I don't have any ulterior motive when it comes to the motion that I moved as to the erosion of democracy, especially at the grassroots level. I don't have any reason, have any ulterior motive. And if they are fair to themselves, and I don't want to go into details here, but have consistently counseled the government of Benue State on this issue of dissolution, on this issue of sacking of local government councils. It was not correct, especially at a time when we have the Reverend Father, Home of Affairs, not to be the usual politician that do things because politicians do, make a difference. Because the people of Benue State, I'm of PDP structure. The people of Benue State repose some level of confidence in the governor. And by extension, the expectations of the people, very, very high. These are made clear to them. So, when this issue started, I made every effort to let my voice be heard. But unfortunately, it has come to pass because the political class put a lot of pressure on the governor. And unfortunately, he yielded to it.
But political class made the governor do what he did?
Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly is wrong with what has happened? Could you trace it for us?
Well, let me say clearly from the beginning here that the Constitution doesn't provide for caretaker committee. Emphatically, the Constitution in Section 7.1 clearly states that the system of local government by democratically elected council is under this Constitution guaranteed. And there is a plethora of cases, judgments by the Supreme Court condemning the constitution of caretaker committees or sole administrators 2 years ago, precisely 2 years plus ago, the Supreme Court ruled in the case of Ekiti State, the sacked council chairman, that the governors do not have power to sack local government councils and constitute caretaker committees or appoint sole administrators. And even went further to say that the state houses of assembly do not have powers to dissolve councils, and that the state governors do not hide under laws made by the state houses of assembly to dissolve elected councils. And so, I mean, the Constitution says, the Supreme Court says, these are the supreme judicial institutions in Nigeria.
But in this case, they argue that the governor did not sack the chairman. The assembly did not nullify the elections. What happened was that there were corruption case, they were investigated and then suspended. And so in order to avoid the lacuna in terms of have a vacuum in those areas, they just put some people to run it.
We're talking about elected councils, for instance. Why hide under the euphemism of suspension, sack, dissolution? The most important thing is that the councils, not just the chairman, the vice chairman, or the councillors. Benue State has 23 local government councils. That means 22 chairmen and 23 vice chairmen, 23 secretaries. Benue State has 276 council wards. That means you have 276 councillors and other officials that are there. And so, for crying out loud, we're just turning truth on its head. Otherwise, how can you now say you investigated 23 local government, 276 council, and all of them have been found corrupt? And in any case, if you find somebody corrupt, prosecute him. Prosecute him. And the procedure is very clear on that. So, because somebody is corrupt, so if you accuse somebody, the state governor, for instance, now, remove immunity, accuse him of corruption, you investigate him, EFCC investigates him, then the president removes him from office. That's not correct.
But part of what they also said was that prosecution is on, but this council chairman will not show up for their time to be prosecuted, and so they were left with no choice. Is that valid?
You know too well, the law has procedures. These local government council chairmen are there in Benue State. They are there. See, tomorrow, I can call my local government council chairman now, and she will tell you that she's in the village. They are there. Vice chairman, they are there. And if you want to prosecute them, and you need them, and they are not making themselves available to you, the police is there.
But why did they say that this council chairmen were not even really elected? Because I think Mr. Onji was talking about the fact that they were brought in by Governor Autumn, and they just wrote down their names and filled the place, and you didn't speak up at that time, and so why now?
This is the point I just made. It's very, very unfortunate that people who should know. And unfortunately, the young man who just left here now, somebody who pretended to want to be a senator to represent me and the good people of Benue South Senatorial District. How can I say that? Local government elections, all of us have been complaining here. I, for one, I sponsored a bill in the 9th Senate for the administrative and financial autonomy of local governments because of the things that are happening there. Some states, about 3 states, paid us, including Benue State. It's on record. And I complained to them. Even as your son representing you, I sponsored a bill for the autonomy of local government, you refused to pass it. Only about 21 or so states passed it. And we needed 24. So we couldn't get it. And I'm taking it back again. That one day, somebody will reason with me and the rest of Nigerians that the local government needs some level of autonomy to operate.
Senator, are you implying that the governor doesn't care about the people in his state enough to look at how the local government chairmen have administered those local governments?
Well, I don't think I'm in a position to say that the governor doesn't care or he cares and the rest of them. No. If you ask observers and followers of the government of Benue State, I'm of the PDP. But the governor knows that I support him. In every action that he had taken from the beginning till this moment, I had supported him, including setting up his government. I was in the forefront of those persons who said, look, the governor deserves some level of independence to work. And I supported him. And at that time, they called me names, especially my party. So, but I didn't care. So the issue now is not whether the governor cares or he doesn't care. The issue now is that the actions that the State House of Assembly, as they are insinuating, has taken, and the governor has said he followed the recommendation of the State House of Assembly, is wrong. And what is wrong is wrong. And the point that I continue to make is this. The Constitution is very clear on what to do. And so you cannot go against an elected council. Whether elections in Nigeria, we all know, have been riddled with some malpractices and irregularities and the rest of them. That there was irregularity, for instance, in the election of council chairmen that have stayed in office for over a year. It's not enough for a new government to come and say, go. Because
the concern, if I'm coming, the concern is not irregularities in the election.
Yeah.
Concern is that there are complaints that the council chairmen were not even properly elected. Let's put that to one side. Let's come back to the Constitution that you quoted. It says Section 7.1, where you talked about the powers given to the State Assembly to, let me read it clearly here, subject to Section 8 of the Constitution, ensure their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils. That means the State Assembly has the power, or implies the State Assembly has the power to look at how they are spending their finances. And so if the State Assembly does an investigation and sees that something's wrong with the way this council chairman have carried on, they made a recommendation to the governor. And the governor took action to ensure that the funds are not depleted further. And that is a bother to you? You're saying there's a procedure that was not followed when they have been given the powers by the Constitution to do this?
Well, I think that we should... You don't read the Constitution as it pertains to the State Houses of Assembly in isolation of the entirety of the Constitution. Don't forget that the same Section 7.6 empowers the National Assembly to provide for the allocation of funds to the local governments. And so, if for any reason you say there is infraction, like I said, the procedure is very clear.
But there's also the B part, where they say the State Assembly also has the same powers as the National Assembly.
I also want you to know that with this Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, any law made by the State House of Assembly that is inconsistent with any law made by the National Assembly is to the level of that inconsistency null and void. That is the truth. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And the National Assembly makes laws within the jurisdiction, within the ambit of the Constitution, on any matter, on any part or system within Nigeria. And so, if you make a law or you make a recommendation that is not correct, that is not just, then to the extent of that inconsistency with the Constitution, it's null and void.
So if they had recommended that they be suspended for 3 months, would that have been in order?
Of course. If they had recommended that they be suspended for investigations to be carried out, but honestly, let me tell you, I'm from Benue State, and I know what took place.
What took place?
What took place was that the council chairmen submitted their report on the activities as demanded by the governor to the governor. And they sent the report, the governor sent the report to the State House of Assembly to look at. Under 24 hours, the State House of Assembly had looked at the report and had recommended that the local government council chairman should be suspended. And under the same 24 hours, local government council chairmen were pronounced by the House of Assembly suspended. That was what took place. Of course, the governor later took ownership of the suspension. Okay, if he decides to do that. But the truth about it is that procedures were not followed. And these council chairmen were not given fair hearing chance to defend whatever they claimed they had done wrong. That is the truth about it. But the truth again is this. The law is very clear. Not the governor, not the State House of Assembly has power to dissolve a democratically elected council. And in place of them, a caretaker committee. That is an aberration.
They said they didn't dissolve them.
Don't bother about whether they dissolve or not. The press secretary to the governor talked about former council chairmen. He talked about council chairmen who were sacked because they were found culpable. So what is the difference between sacking somebody and dissolving the council? Because it's all of them they sacked. What is dissolution? They have been ousted from their constitutional responsibility by their election. And that's the truth about it. So whether you say sack or suspend or dissolve, they are mere semantics. The truth about it is that these local government councils have been deprived of their responsibility to act. They have been ousted from their responsibility to act. I don't know what else is dissolution.
But Senator, if in the event that, assuming they had made recommendations that they be suspended for 3 months because they found them wanting for anti-graft cases, and we know the nature of investigations in here, sometimes it could take longer than that, and if the law doesn't provide for more than 3 months, wouldn't there have been a problem with the entire process if the agencies cannot sufficiently deal with this matter in 3 months?
Do they have any law in place that empowers the House of Assembly to recommend suspension of elected council chairmen? Do they have any law in place that authorizes or empowers the governor to sack them and put in place a caretaker committee? There's no such law. Granted, but not conceding that the House of Assembly can make law. Did they make the law? And only yesterday, when some members of the House of Assembly, in an executive session of the House of Assembly, disagreed with what they were going to do, 20 of them out of 31 said, well, if you people want to go ahead with this matter, go ahead with the matter, but we will not participate. And so they refused to attend the plenary. And what happened? We went to the plenary without any motion, without any procedure. The speaker hit the gavel and said that 4 of them have been suspended for 3 months. That is the lawlessness that is taking place in Benue State. It's not correct. And we must rise up against this thing because as it is, they say when the goat eats from your farm and from another person's farm and you overlook it because it's not your farm, if it finishes from eating that, from that farm, it will come to your farm.
All right, let's bring in our colleagues from Lagos.
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain. Good morning, Senator Moro. It would seem, listening to you so far, that you're saying that the real substance of the matter really is about, party differences and not necessarily about, whether the local government chairmen are culpable, particularly with regards to the allegations of corruption leveled against them. I recall that you said that we're all 23 of them found to be corrupt. And tell us exactly what this pressure that you referred to earlier on from political parties that the governor has been bound by to act this way. What exactly is the pressure? Which quarters, is this pressure coming from?
Well, the pressure is coming from supporters, of course, because the pressure certainly is coming from the party supporters who think that it is their turn to occupy the political space and that they don't have any reason, the governor didn't have any reason to allow chairmen and councillors elected by a different party to continue in office when the supporters are roaming the streets and they deserve to having supported the governor to become a governor, they deserve to be appointed into the government at the local government level. They see it as their own turn to participate in the system. Don't forget that in the course of debate on this motion, distinguished Senator Adams Oshimole, who was himself a governor, did say that during his time, he met a council elected by a different political party from his own party, and that he was under tremendous pressure to dissolve the councils and appoint his own people, or his own party people, as chairman and supervisory councillors, but that he resisted it and lived with them until their tenures expired. The tenure of these councils that we are talking about now has barely 6 months to expire. And so I think that the governor and government of Benue State should have exercised some restraint and some patience and allow the democratically elected system to expire.
Do you mind naming these party supporters?
I mean, party supporters across Benue State will spend the whole day here naming all of them.
Perhaps you'd
I'm
like
not sure that becomes necessary now.
Okay. If you say so, Senator Moro. Also, Mr. Onje, who just left, said that this is more about you losing control of your local government and not necessarily that you have altruistic intentions in the motion that you presented, specifically on Benue State. Is that the case? Are you losing control of your local government?
How will I lose control of my local government? My local government is not peopled just by the chairman and vice chairman and 5 supervisory councillors. I can assure you that as far as I am concerned, I'm in touch with my people, the fight is for my people, and they appreciate the effort that I'm making to ensure that justice prevails. And so I will no way lose control of my people at all. Don't forget that I'm a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing 9 local governments in my constituency. And so I have no problems at all. I know that the reality on ground is that the APC has taken control of the government of Benue State. I'm prepared to live with it. But for the sake of the people of Benue State, I'm also prepared to support the governor to achieve results, to succeed. Because if he fails, Benue State fails. And I'm a Benue State citizen. And so I don't have any problems at all with the governor. Okay, in 6 months, if the tenure of this council expires, the governor is going to conduct an election. And he has the privilege of ensuring that his party people, party supporters, also win election and become councillors and chairman and vice chairman. I don't have any problem with that at all. But the truth about it is that whether party A or party B, what is wrong is wrong. And this one, certainly, as long as it's wrong, contrary to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that we all swear to protect, I think it is wrong.
There are a couple more from me, but I'll take just one, Senator Moro. Although you have said that you intend to represent your bill for administrative and financial autonomy for local government, but pending that time, it seems as if what we have on our hands is a constitutional crisis. On the one hand, the governor does not have the powers to sack local governments, although what we have seen in Benue State is a dissolution. But on the other hand, the Senate has expanded your motion to include other local governments where there are no elected council chairmen. But the president does not also reserve the powers to withhold local government allocations from local governments, whether or not there are elected chairmen presiding over those authorities or not. So how do we solve this seeming constitutional quagmire?
Well, we can solve this crisis, this constitutional crisis, by abiding by the law. By abiding by the law. That is the only solution to it. And let me tell you, I just read out a section of the Constitution that empowers the National Assembly to provide for the allocation of funds to the local government and the councils. And it's logical that if the National Assembly has powers to provide for the allocation of funds to the local governments, then by extension, I want to aver that the National Assembly therefore has power to know how the money is expended and by who. And as far as our National Assembly is concerned, the caretaker committees in Benue State and other states are illegal contraptions, and therefore it will be illegal to allocate funds to these illegal contraptions. That is the truth about it, and that is what we're insisting on.
Senator Moro, just to be clear, and now we know that, you know, a good number of cases, particularly even as far as the Supreme Court, have made it clear what the position of the Constitution is about local governments, authorities, as well as the relationship between the local government authorities and the governor should be. But just to be clear, how would you describe the action of Governor Alia of Benue State in terms of his role in this whole thing, given what a number of people have said, that it is not the governor that dissolved the councils, it is the House of Assembly that suspended them? How would you describe that action and that of other governors who have done something similar?
It's illegal, it's unconstitutional to dissolve democratically elected local government councils, whether it is in Benue State or in any other state for that matter. As we are talking, counting, and still counting, we have almost 17 states that operate these illegal caretaker committees or administrators. By the Constitution, by the pronouncements of the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court, these are illegal. And they must be halted. They must be halted. Because, like I said, it is a matter of who bears the cat. The system must find a way to correct this violation of the Constitution. Good. And that is the step that we have started taking now. And extreme situations require extreme solutions. And so somebody certainly will muster the necessary political will to ensure that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is protected.
Good thing you mentioned political there, Senator Moro. Now, many times when issues of constitutional, imbroglio, tiff or whatever like this come up, most of the time we tend to defer to constitutional, or beg your pardon, political solutions. And perhaps that is the reason that this particular issue has gone on until now. Several court rulings, even presidential pronouncements, have not been able to suspend or even curtail this process. So the question then is how? Yes, you've talked about what the Senate has done. And of course, the governor has also admonished the Senate to go back on its word and not suspend the allocations to local government administrations in their states. So the question is, if we're going to deal with this issue decisively, how? How far can the Senate or the National Assembly take this particular matter? And what's the assurance you have that this will be decisive?
Well, thank you very much. It's very, very, very unfortunate that we are where we are today. The Constitution is very clear. We all swear to abide by the Constitution, to protect the Constitution. But where you have this forward and backward pronouncements, when people are afraid to take responsibility for the actions that they take, then it's very unfortunate. Here we are, there is a violation of the Constitution. It has been brought to the fore, to the front burner of national discourse. The National Assembly, if you witness the debate on that motion, distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari from Oyo North did say that this is a wake-up call that the National Assembly will go a lot further to make necessary amendments to our laws, if possible, even the Constitution, to ensure that the Constitution is protected. Because as it is now, the Supreme Court has pronounced on the illegality of caretaker committees. Yet, over 17 states or thereabout are operating illegal caretaker committees in their states.
In that light, Senator Moro,
a state like Anambra, for instance.
Yeah. My apologies. In that light, who should be calling the governors to order? Who should be curtailing the activities of the governors? Who is going to say that to the governors or to the houses of assembly? Because the governors are going to say they are only obeying what the houses of assembly have pronounced, or what their resolutions have been. Who is going to suspend or curtail this process so that we can protect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Unfortunately, in the unfolding scenario, it is the houses of assembly that should call the governors to order. Because some of the actions of these governors, as long as they violate the Constitution, are impeachable offenses. And who impeaches the governor? It is the State House of Assembly. But unfortunately, from what we have witnessed in Nigeria, the State Houses of Assembly have become mere appendages of the executive government of the states. To the extent that when the National Assembly passed a law for the independence of the Houses of Assembly to be on the first line charge, to take charge of their own destinies, some Houses of Assembly, unfortunately again, including the Benue State House of Assembly, voted against it, voted against their own autonomy. So that is the extent to which the whole system has been bastardized. And so, like I said, we need to amend the Constitution to provide more teeth for the Houses of Assembly to operate. Okay, and that's the only way we can solve the problem.
Two things seem to come up here. In that motion that you moved to withhold statutory allocations to local government councils, in Benue State in this case, where there were no democratically elected officials functioning. Yeah. And by extension, probably if it happens in other states, will this apply to other states though?
Yeah, because that was my first prayer, or the last prayer, and it was amended to include other states where councils have been dissolved and caretaker committees put in place.
Okay, so now it appears as though with this, looking at this, it will come across as if these governors are doing these things to take charge of the funds that go to those local government areas. Why are you stopping the funds from going there?
That is exactly what is happening. Because people confuse the provision of Section 7 to the extent that states should make funds available to local governments for their operations against Section 7(6) that provides for the National Assembly providing for what the Constitution, the intendment of the Constitution as to the state providing funds for the local government is the internally generated fund of the local government. So that in addition to the money that comes from the federation account, the state governments were supposed also to distribute funds within the state, within the ambit of the funds of the state, not the statutory allocated funds. But unfortunately, what has been happening now is that state governments take over the funds of the local government. The local governments have become cash cows for state governments.
So what kind of...
In my time, let me tell you, in my time, funds were directly allocated and released to the local government.
Did it work?
It worked. I was chairman of the local government. I used my funds. I didn't have any interference from the state government.
But the governor had to tell you what to do or what not to do, what kind of projects you're
going to back up? Never. I had free hands. Ask anybody who observed when I was chairman of the local government. All the clinics and health centers that I constructed, I wasn't directed by the governor. The civic center and the hall that I built, I wasn't directed by the state government. No. Incidentally, it was the SGF, current SGF, that was governor of the state. I was AGON chairman in the state.
So in seeking amendments to the Constitution, what areas should you be looking at as regards the security of the position of the chairman and interference on the states?
What that desire for amendment included was properly defining the joint account, which has been abused. We used to have a joint account meeting, even in my time. But indices that were used to allocate funds to local government, and it varied from local government to local government. It also depended on how much the local government performed its own part. That was the basis of which monies were allocated. But now, what is happening in some of the states is that monies allocated from the federation account are pulled together in the state and redistributed, which is unfair to some local government. Because in my time, for instance, I had only 458 officials, staff. Other local governments had up to 1,000. So they use my money now, as it is operating now, they use my money to pay the salaries of local governments that were not prudent enough to maintain a prudent size of staff. If a small local government has 1,000 staff, then they use the money that they put together now to go and pay their salary. It's not correct. It's not legal.
All right. This is a matter we'll look to see in the future because you say it requires more teeth. So we'll look to see what kind of laws or amendments will they make this time that will work and may not turn out as, the last time where the Buhari's government, the AGF, the governors didn't agree on funding the local government directly. But we're out of time. So we'll reach out again and see if we can make our time to have some further look on this matter. But I want to thank you for coming on.
We want to make sure that funds of local governments are directly sent to them.
Okay.
We want to make sure that local states don't have power to interfere in the administration and the financial transactions of the local government.
All right, Senator Abamaro, Minority Leader, thank you for your time here today. Well, that is the show as well. We thank you all for watching. Dixon, Kunle, we appreciate all your messages. Festus, thank you all, but we'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Asad. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'm Neota Ibi.
Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Ayo Makinde.
To further entrench hope, progress, and togetherness among wives of police officers in Nigeria, the pillars of strength to their husbands, the Police Officers' Wives Association, POA, will brainstorm on some critical issues of national interest at POA Annual National Convention 2023. Theme: Renewed Phase of Hope and Sisterhood in POA, inspiring progress together. Other activities include empowerment, sports, dinner, and awards. Date: 6th to 8th December 2023. Opening ceremony: POA National Secretariat, number 5, Dame Patience Jonathan Way, Mabila Barracks, Asokoro, Abuja. Time: 10 a.m. prompt. Distinguished guest of honor: IGP Olukayode Adeolu Egbetokun, PhD, NPM, the 22nd Indigenous Inspector General of Police. Guest of honor: Mr. Igo Charles Sanomi, founder, the Dickens Sanomi Foundation. Chief host is the Face of Hope and National President POA, Mrs. Elizabeth Egbetokun. Announcer: ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, First Public Relations Officer. Great POA, powerful.